Any great fast bowler should have some amount of aggression. Fast bowling is hard work, believe me. You have to be aggressive. You've got to let batsmen know that no matter what, I'm not going to go away. You got to get under the skin. Cricket is a tough game. You got to wear batsmen down. Not too many batsmen can really stop me when I'm in that zone. When I'm in that zone, it's like I'm unstoppable.
He was terrifying.
A wonderful bowler.
It just wore you down and not giving you scoring opportunities. Asking big questions every single ball.
It was at you the whole time. At you the whole time.
Mentally, it could be quite draining.
Horrible to face because he couldn't score runs.
He was relentless. He hit the mark every time. He was phenomenal.
He's just got a 6th and 7th gear, hasn't he, Curtly? If he wants to turn it on, he can be very difficult customer to face.
Every time that you think that chips are down and we're struggling, you would produce a very special spell.
My chest was a tad sore for quite some time, with a few bruises.
He never said anything. That was probably the most intimidating fact about him.
Serious, didn't say much, quiet assassin.
One of the highlights of my career, you know, taking Curtly on and having that confrontation against probably the guy I respected most in any opposition team.
Easily the greatest bowler, Curtly Ambrose, that I faced.
We played every sport possible. Football, basketball, cricket. But for me, my passion was always to become a basketball player or a footballer. Cricket was never really on the agenda.
You have more opportunity of playing cricket in the West Indies, and Curtly is a typical example of that. If he had gotten the opportunity, probably would have gone to play basketball.
It was my mother who was a cricket fanatic.
She sort of coaxed him into doing it because she wanted one of her sons to be a cricketer.
My mother continued to pressure me to play cricket. So I thought I'll give it a go.
To satisfy his mother, he started to play cricket, and I'm happy he did.
In 1984, I started playing club cricket for a small village in Antigua called Swetes. In 1985, I was selected for the Antigua national team. And a year later, in 1986, I was on the Leeward Islands team. And 2 years later, in 1988, I was in the West Indies team. So within 4 short years of not wanting to play cricket, I suddenly found myself an international cricketer.
Although a new member of the squad, Curtly Ambrose was already acquainted with some of his teammates, not least the man to whom he would become inextricably linked over the next 12 years.
The first time I saw him was in England, and I remember we were on tour and he came to watch us in the nets, and Viv said, "That's a fellow who doesn't like the game, but he's not a bad bowler." And we all chuckled and laughed.
Cody made his debut back in 1984, so he had 4 years ahead of me.
He created havoc, did extremely well, and got into the West Indies team straight away. So he had a quicker path into the West Indies team than I did.
I used to share the new ball with either Malcolm Marshall or Patrick Patterson or Ian Bishop.
We struck up a friendship from the first time we met.
We were roommates in Pakistan, and that's when we get to know each other a lot more. And our friendship just got stronger and stronger, and then we became bowling partners.
We figure whatever the selectors do is what we think is best for West Indies cricket, so we're just going to work along with that.
Even though we became friends and he became my captain, he always reminded me that I'm the senior bowler here, you know? Courtney and I are more than just teammates and friends, we're like brothers.
Ambrose was included in the 1988 tour of England. The press took one look at the 6'8" Ambrose and instantly declared him the successor to Joel Garner.
He fell in the same mold that we did. He was steady, consistent, and he was able to bowl a length that was nagging to most batsmen, so it was easy for him.
Everyone was saying a new Garners arrive and stuff like that, and that in itself would put you under pressure because, I mean, Joel is some big boots to fill.
Ambrose made a significant impact. His 7 wickets at Headingley gave the West Indies a 3-0 lead, and with that, the series.
The 7 wicket all gave him the confidence to know that he's part of the team. The guys embraced him well, and his personal confidence level went up.
I had a good series. I took 22 wickets, second to the late great Malcolm Marshall, who took 35. I mean, he was our best bowler in the world at the time. So, yeah, for me, it was satisfying.
Came from nowhere. Nobody expected him. All of a sudden, there's this Curtly Ambrose. Everyone said, who is this?
Ambrose took 26 wickets in the winter tour to Australia, but only took 5 in the '89 spring series against India. For someone who had only known success since taking the game seriously just 5 years earlier, it was a shock, and he was dropped for England's return in 1990.
The series didn't start well for me. I missed the first test, wasn't selected, we lost. The second test was in Guyana, and the same team that played in Jamaica was selected. However, Malcolm Marshall sustained an injury, and that's when they called me into the squad. And to be quite honest, I didn't want to go. A very good friend of mine, Hugo, who's an Antiguan, he's like a mentor to me, convinced me to go and prove them wrong. That's when I started to say, you know what, let me take this cricket seriously, forget about the basketball thing, make a career of it, and prove to the world that Curtly Ambrose can be a force to be reckoned with.
In the 4th test in Barbados, with the West Indies 1-0 down, Ambrose was simply sensational, blowing England away with 8 wickets in the second innings for a 164-run victory.
He's gone. He's back before. Ambrose strikes again.
We had to win this game in Barbados to level the series and then move on to Antigua. Jack Russell, very stubborn cricketer, he was holding us up for a while, couldn't get him out. Viv took the second new ball and gave it to me. And then that was it. Once we moved Jack Russell, there was no stopping us. I got 8-45, won the game.
It's over. The West Indies have won by 164 runs.
Despite missing the first 2 tests, Ambrose was named Player of the Series, and his status as one of the Caribbean's most important players was assured. 2 years later, again in Barbados, the West Indies faced a South Africa side, just returning to the world stage after a lengthy ban. In the second innings, South Africa needed just 201 to win. Ambrose took 2 early wickets, but at the close of play, South Africa stood at 122 for 2.
There was a boat cruise that was put on by the association here, well, the West Indies Cricket Board, basically, for both teams.
There were champagnes were being popped, and some locals were indulging as well and saying, well, you guys have come back in the test cricket with a bang. And then I look at Curtly and say, but this game is not over yet.
A bunch of rookies can't afford to be the best team in the world. So we were really focused to not lose this game.
But I remember Curtly and I was saying that the only way this test match can be won is if both of us bowl well.
Desmond Haynes saying in the meeting that no matter what happened, Ambrose and Walsh have to bowl until the end of the game. If we're going to win, we're going to win with Ambrose and Walsh.
Oh, he's caught. He's caught, quite brilliantly caught by Brian Lara. Is he caught behind? He's been given out. And this is another wicket down. And he's out. Kirsten's gone. He's caught. Oh, and now Merrick Pringle is bowled by Ambrose.
Ambrose finished with 6 for 34, Walsh 4 for 31. They took the final 8 wickets for the loss of only 26 runs. Ambrose and Walsh were undoubtedly the most dangerous West Indies bowling partnership since Holding and Roberts.
First of all, I think there was a lot of skill, to be blunt. I mean, they were very skillful performers.
You would see that in one innings, one would get 5, the next innings, the other would get 5, and it was like they were always pushing each other.
Curtly Ambrose, magnificent, horrible to face because he couldn't score runs, but his partner in crime, Courtney Walsh, he bowled wide of the stumps and he was fierce and grumpy, and he was horrible to face because some were on the leg stump, some were on the off stump, some were at your head, some were Yorkers, they were all over the place.
Walsh, he always took the ball away from us, so I always felt quite comfortable kind of like leaving him. Curtly would stand the ball bolt upright in his seam. You'd always be thinking that you could leave the ball, but the ball would inevitably start to come back into the stumps as well. And that was hard work, you know. It was just, you just had to be on all the time.
When you've got them both coming at both ends, the batsman just can't get away from it, and then that, you know, the pressure is maintained.
Curtly Ambrose's aggression and accuracy made him one of the most fearsome bowlers on the planet. However, in a World Series final in Sydney in 1993, one man fancied his chances.
If you follow my career, everyone knows I've always worn 2 wristbands and a rag in my waist. The wristbands come up my forehead because I sweat a lot, and the wash rag in my trousers waist is to dry my fingers, you know. So I've always done a part of my attire. And that particular one-day game, Dean just came out to bat, didn't face the delivery, and asked the umpire to ask me to remove my wristbands, which I thought was a strange request. And of course, I wasn't going to do it. I said, no, you can't ask me that. This is not something new. I've done it all in my career. Why?
I think Dean was trying to have reverse psychology to try to upset Curtis, to throw him off his line and his length, because he was having a very good one-day series, bowling extremely well.
A few of the teammates, they said to me, well, you know, big fella, I understand, you know, it's a strange request, but for the sake of the game, and I was adamant, I said, I'm not going to take it off. I prefer to stop bowling. Forget it. You know, and I was really upset.
Kurt at first thought Dean was joking, so he says to the umpire, are you serious? And Kurt looked at Dean, and Dean says, yeah. And he sort of took it off. But from the start to take it off, you knew that something was going to happen.
I was at the other end. It was wonderful. Curtly wasn't quite on song that night in Sydney, but then Dino decided in his own irrepressible manner that he would try and steer things up.
In the spirit of the game, I took them off, and I was furious. And I thought, well, Dean just is in trouble. You know, and right away I started bowling a lot quicker. I really wanted to knock him out. Yeah.
All the rest of Australian batsmen regretted that, because he went up a notch, moving from military medium to bowling express pace, and the rest was history.
I was so furious, you know, and Australia lost quite easily. I understand the Australia just weren't too happy with Mr. Dean Jones, you know, so you shouldn't have rattled a big fella like that.
That just fired him up, which we didn't really want. So it was a very big thank you from everyone to Dino for blowing the whole game up for everyone else.
It was one of the most enthralling spell of fastball you could see in a one-day contest. Literally unplayable.
Slow ball, too good.
I took 5-32. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't know. We did an over or so, and he quietly said to me, you know, if you want to put them back on, you can, because you realize the fire in my eyes, you know.
Curtly is very interested in Dean Jones' welfare at the moment.
But I ignored him. I didn't put them back on because the damage already done, and you already rattled me, and there's no getting away from this.
Curtly did, he all of a sudden found 2 or 3 yards somewhere in pace, started bowling really well, and put a totally different complexion on the game. Cheers, Dean.
I didn't get him out, though. I didn't get him out.
When the West Indies played Australia in 92-93, they were facing a team determined not to lose. Captain Alan Border had never beaten the West Indies, and doing so was his holy grail. By the time they reached Adelaide, Australia were 1 up with 2 to play.
We'd copped a fair shellacking over the years, so you know, we had ourselves in this position where we had a chance to actually beat them.
It was a fantastic game. Could have gone either way, and that was a 4th test match. A game that we had to win.
We hadn't played brilliantly in this Adelaide test match, but we'd somehow conjured that we'd just stayed in touch, and we had a chance to win it.
It went down the wire. They keep chipping away the runs.
By the 79th over, Australia were just 2 runs behind with 1 wicket remaining.
I remember saying to Desmond that if I don't win the test match in this over, we might lose it because Curtly legs was leaving him.
Oh, he's tried to avoid it, it's hit the bat, then he's gone, and that test match has been won by 1 run.
I managed to get the wicket in the last ball of that over, and I was just over the moon. I was excited, and all my teammates and everybody was overjoyed.
I think he knew then that West Indies, having levelled the series, would just sweep them aside in Perth.
We were the more motivated or more sort of upbeat of the team because we had just come off a victory.
We went to Perth and looked at the pitch the morning of the game, and it looked ripe for fast bowling. And I remember saying to Richie, our captain, as a skipper, if you win this toss, we'll win the test match and the series. It just looked right for fast bowling.
Coming into the lunch period, Australia were going quite well.
I didn't have a very good spell that morning session. Didn't get, the radar was way off. And I didn't really trouble the batsmen. So I was itching to get back out after lunch. And Richie came to me and asked me, you know, big fella, how are you feeling? I said, I'm ready to bowl.
Big appeal there. Yes, he's got the little inside edge. Shouts of catching, and once again, Curtly Ambrose does the job for his skipper.
He's just got a 6th and 7th gear, hasn't he, Curtly? If he wants to turn it on, he can be a very difficult customer to face, and we were no match.
And a shout, he's got him first ball. The Australians in complete disarray here.
There was something in the wicket, and he exploited every single little bit of it, and just knocked us over.
It's just one of those sessions where the batsman didn't miss very many, everything nicked, and the catching behind was really high quality.
That's hits in the air, could be an Arthur's running with the ball, he should catch this, he does, Ambrose gets 5.
I took 7 wickets for 1 run in a spell of 6 overs or something, which was really unheard of.
Ambrose was in, unbelievable form. I mean, 7 for 1, absolutely brilliant. And of course, they got blown away then, and West Indies won the series 2-1.
That performance was phenomenal. That was probably one of the best spell of fast bowling that I'd seen. He was literally unplayable in Perth.
It's 7 for 1. He's got another one. What a spell!
It was just brilliant bowling and exploitation of a wicket that suited him.
From being 1-0 up to 2-1 down, just in the blink of an eye.
That was just Ambrose. Oh, that was serious. That's serious cricket.
Although less dominant than previous sides, the current West Indies team was still in good health, as the visit of England in spring 1994 was to prove. The first 2 tests were comfortably won, meaning a win in Trinidad would hand the series to the home side.
England had us on the ropes, really. It was a test match that they figured they was going to win, because they really had us in trouble.
We said if we bowl well on this wicket in Trinidad, you know, we should be able to begin with a shout.
When I went out to bat, you know, Captain Richie said to me, you know, try and bat as long as I can and get a few runs. I played a wild swipe and got bowled. And I was like, man, you really messed up here. England had to get, I think it's 194, with 15 overs on the 4th afternoon, plus the whole of the 5th day. And I keep saying to myself quietly, you messed up. You have to pull something off the back here, you know, to get back in the good books with the teammates.
We figured that the wicket was still a good wicket, and we're going to have to bowl very well to win the test match.
Which is said to us, if we get 3 or 4 wickets in that evening session, then we should be okay going to the 5th day. So I was really focused.
Ambrose skittled Mike Atherton in the first over.
That's exactly the start that Curtly Ambrose and Richard Richardson would really have dreamed of.
Then Rampakash got run out by Courtney Walsh, which was a rarity.
Oh, trouble here, trouble. This is absolute disaster for England.
This test match is now ours. If you can run somebody out like that, then we have to win this test match.
It was a run out that really convinced us that England were probably in a worse mental state than we were.
That's out. Robin Smith has gone. What more can you ask of Curtly Ambrose?
The spell together was just electrifying, and you know, you could tell what was going to happen. You're in the groove, you're at the top of your game, and the ball is doing what you want it to do, and it's going to be hard to beat you then.
great fast bowlers, they just keep the pressure and put the ball in the right areas, and there's probably was an intimidating feel inside that passage of play.
Wicket number 5. Curtly Ambrose strikes once more.
One after the other they went.
Curtly Ambrose strikes again.
And you could see Graham thought, if not fear, there was apprehension that, my goodness, we're going to lose this match.
Obviously, we're in full control, but sometimes, you know, you take your foot off the gas and so, something else happens. It was one of those games that we had decided not to take our feet off the gas, but just to drive it home and try to finish up this game as quickly as possible.
I was in that zone. They ended up losing 8 wickets that evening. The next day was just a formality, really. But once you give me a little sniff, you know, then you could be in some trouble.
The West Indies simply annihilated England. Ambrose took 6 wickets as the West Indies condemned England to their lowest score for nearly 100 years, 46 all out. Off the pitch, Ambrose's attitude was typically Caribbean, relaxed and full of fun. But on the pitch was a different matter. And in 1995, sparks flew as Ambrose came up against Australian batsman Steve Waugh.
We had put them on a pedestal. They were like this almost immortal team of superstars.
The senior players within that group had really had enough of being beaten by the West Indies, and they had gone to that series determined to stand up to them.
We felt that was a way to do it, to go hard at them, intimidate them when they're not expecting it.
And we beat them in Barbados in 3 days. And so the next test was in Trinidad. We really didn't make too many in the first innings, but Steve was the one who kind of stood up.
He stood up and battled away, battled away, battled away. And something went on between himself and Ambrose.
I was bowling to him, you know, I'm a normal stay and all that stuff, and apparently he swayed to me.
Ambrose then went down the pitch. I don't know what he was going to do because it was out of character for him.
I had tingles up my spine going, are you crazy? It's the only time we ever really saw Curtly Ambrose get animated.
I asked him really, did you sway with me? And he didn't say yes, he didn't say no, he just said, I can say what I want. So that tells me he did say it. And then that's when I lost control.
That was a moment of madness on my behalf.
I said to him, don't ever sway to me again. You understand? Or else I will knock you out here. I have no career left. I could do what I got to do with you, and they banned me from cricket. I don't care. I really lost it.
A bit disappointed Richie got involved in it. I was at that part. I would have been interested to see who would have come out on top of that one.
He retaliated, as he's going to do, because he's a fighter, he's a proud West Indian as well.
I was so upset at the time that I really wanted to physically, you know, but at the end of the day, I was quite happy that I didn't really beat Steve Waugh, because Australia would have lost a great cricketer. You know, he probably would have been dead or something, you know.
I look back, that was probably one of the highlights of my career, you know, taking Curtly on and having that confrontation against probably the guy I respected most in any opposition team.
To me, it's Test cricket at its best, man. You know, 2 great performers, you know, not backing, no, not giving an inch.
A pumped-up Ambrose inspired West Indies to a 9-wicket win, but they lost the series, their first since 1980. Australia went on to dominate for the next 15 years, whilst the West Indies went into decline. But Ambrose and Walsh continued taking wickets. Even at the end, it was a world-class partnership.
There was no magic to it. The thing is, Courtney and I understand each other very well. We always realize if it's my day, it's my day. If it's his day, his day. So that was really the secret to our success.
When Ambrose retired in 2000, he did so with 405 wickets in just 98 tests. Ambrose, along with his strike partner Courtney Walsh, remained the last in a line of great West Indies fast bowlers.
I was begging him to play on a little bit better, but he had lost that fight and the hunger for the game, and just figured it was time to go, because he just didn't want to lower his standard.
He had a tremendous career, and consistent all the way through. You know, you never saw bowling a bad ball, having a terrible spell. He was always there and thereabouts.
First ball to the last ball was always the same pace. His bouncer was always at your throat, and he just was a complete bowler.
He and I had some great contests, and I think he was just a wonderful bowler.
Very hard to wear down. You never really got on top of him, you just sort of survived against him.
His armoury of height, pace, ability to be able to control the ball makes him the great white pointer, if you like, of bowling. He was really top of the food chain.
It's about winning by attrition, really. So my steer and stuff, it wasn't something rehearsed. It was just a natural part of my game. Give it that long steer, you know, let you think. I wonder what he's coming with next, you know, so he keeps you thinking, trying to put you off a game a little bit. And sometimes it works, sometimes it don't, but I think it works more often than not.